Welcome to NARAL's The Morning After. Each Thursday, our podcast brings you the latest on reproductive health care, progressive politics, and the fight to keep abortion safe and legal. NARAL's The Morning After is a production of NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Pro-Choice OH. Enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Gabe.
Hi, I'm Randi.
And I'm Jaime. So today's a big day.
Yay.
Yesterday was a big day.
Well, yesterday was a big day. Today is a big day. They're all big days, but Hillary...
Technically, Monday night, according to the AP, it was a big day.
Yes.
Or whenever that one person finally decided. But yes, Hillary is officially the presumptive nominee. Mm-hmm. She'll be the official nominee in Pennsylvania at the end of July. But she is the official presumptive nominee. Woohoo! Breaking that glass ceiling that she put 18 million cracks in 2008.
Yep.
And officially breaking it this year, which is fabulous. Yay!
Yes.
It was.
She crossed over the majority of what are they? Dedicated delegates?
Pledged
delegates. Yes. She did that this morning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. California.
Or last
night.
night.
Do you know which time zone you were in?
So the AP said she's got enough pledged and super delegates, and then after last night, she's got enough actual pledged delegates for a majority. So it's pretty much official.
Yeah.
Yes.
So did they actually call California? Because okay, they did. Okay, because I had heard they had some issues that California sometimes takes a long time.
Yeah, and it did. We were all in bed before that happened, but this morning they had called it, and she was ahead. I think last one I heard saw actually was 56-43, so it was actually double digits at this point.
Yeah.
So she didn't just squeak
New Jersey,
by.
They didn't have to wait for the West Coast. New Jersey put her over, and so she gave that speech last night.
There's actually a lot of places voting last night. I didn't realize. New Jersey, New Mexico, South Dakota. Yeah, South and North Dakota. Right. California, of course. And she put out a video this morning, or it might have been last night. I saw it today. Thank you. She put out a video, which was basically, just the history of women in the United States, going all the way back to Seneca Falls, and then the women's liberation movement, and just showing, a lot of icons on there like Shirley Chisholm and Gloria Steinem. And I just thought it was a really good video, and I was really happy that she showed that, and that we are like you said, no matter how you feel about her, she's breaking a glass ceiling, and I'm happy about that. I'm happy, somebody was saying America has really just turned a corner. There's like, can we really go from 43 white men to a black man and then a woman? And they were like, yes, I think we can. I think that's great.
Right.
Yeah, it was funny. Somebody put a little emoji version of all of the presidents together yesterday on Facebook, and it was white guy, and then like blackface, and then a girl face. And it was like, oh, it's cute.
Yeah. Somebody else tweeted, and I retweeted this for our account, that the daughter of the first black president's first vote is going to be for a woman.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's amazing.
I thought that was a really great.
That is amazing.
Great way of phrasing it. Hillary's speech was really terrific. It came after that video, and I saw a lot of the familiar pictures, that we've seen many times of the suffragettes and the civil rights movement. I did catch in there, and I don't know who it was that was speaking in the video, somebody talking about how they were transgender, and the country is moving forward. So I mean, this was a very nice picture of inclusion.
Yes.
And then she gave a terrific speech. She started off part of her introduction saying that they're all standing under a glass ceiling right now. She says, tonight's victory is not about one person. It belongs to generations of women and men who struggled and sacrificed and made this moment possible. In our country, it started right here in New York, a place called Seneca Falls in 1848, where a small but determined group of women and men came together with the idea that women deserved equal rights, and they set it forth in something called the Declaration of
Sentiments.
This transcript is wrong then. And it was the first time in human history that kind of declaration occurred. So we also owe so much to those who came before, and tonight belongs to all of you. It's a good speech.
It was a really good speech. It was one of the best ones I think I've ever seen her give. I mean, her speech last Thursday on national security and then that speech last night really does encompass like what she is. I mean, she's an amazing policy person, and you saw that last week in her national security speech and how well she could run that part of our government because she's been an integral part of it for so long. But last night you really saw her heart and her passion. I mean, I get so frustrated when all the pundits are all, oh, she's too robotic, or she doesn't show emotion, or she's too practiced. I'm like, she's not. And last night you saw that. I mean, when you actually watch the video, like, and you start before the speech with her coming out and just hearing the roar of the crowd and like seeing her like soak it in and take it in, you really saw, you know, the person that she really is. And it was a good speech. It was a great moment.
Right.
I think it hit a lot of people a lot harder than it. There were a lot of people on my Facebook feed like, I didn't think I would cry, but I'm sobbing like a baby. You know, like, didn't think it would hit me emotionally that hard, but it really, you know, breaking that glass ceiling was really impressive. And it's good that we finally came around to it, you know. Right. Yeah. Countries like Pakistan have had women presidents and we haven't, you know.
Exactly. And I think also, I've seen really many great things. I've seen a lot of sexist things, which is disappointing. But I feel like even though we're going forward and moving forward, it'll unfortunately be the same kind of thing with Obama, as far as like, racism didn't exist before Obama. It'll be like sexism didn't exist before Hillary, and all of a sudden we have all these sexist things, but. Maybe that won't happen. Wishful thinking. Yeah, but anyway, be mad, misogynist. Be mad.
I mean, Donald Trump. She's running against Donald Trump. You think there's not going to be sexism? I mean, come on here.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, I mean, she has critics on both sides of the aisle. And you know, to the conservatives who really just don't want a woman in office.
Yes.
Kiss my ass.
Yeah.
But you know, to our friends and colleagues who haven't been in the Clinton camp before, you know, the way I look at it is you have to hold your opponents accountable. You know, and because we're a pro-choice organization, we're holding them accountable on reproductive rights and abortion access.
Yes.
You have to hold your friends accountable in the exact same way. I mean, President Obama is a terrific pro-choice champion, but we have to hold him accountable.
Exactly.
You know? And there's room for improvement with his record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get that improvement if we just say, oh, well, he's good enough. And it's going to be the exact same way with, you know, Hillary when she's in the Oval Office. We're going to have to hold her accountable. She's a pro-choice champion, and we hold her accountable.
Yeah. We have we have to hold all people accountable.
Right.
You know, no matter whether our friends are not so much our friends. But yeah, this is what we're supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's, you know, that's a big part of the democratic process, that if you neglect that, that's your fault. And it's not the candidate that you elected and you thought that they were just going to, you know, turn out to be some magical wizard for whatever it is that your issue is.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other part of that too, is making sure that we stay vigilant as well, because we can't expect our champions to be our champions if we sit back and just do nothing. And let them get pummeled and all those things. You know, every time we do lobby day or whatever, like, why am I going and talking to this pro-choice guy? I know he already agrees with me. Why am I talking to him? Right. Because they need to see us there, and they need to hear that we are thankful that they are fighting these fights in the environment that they're fighting them.
Right.
Especially here.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, in the same way, we've got to stay vigilant and not just say, okay, we elected her, now she just has to do good things. No, we still have to have her back.
And
like
elect down ballot people to support her. We have to have a Congress and a Senate to support her. She can't, you know, do everything alone like we see with our last president. You can't just, you know, do everything alone. We have to do the down ballot races as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of side note, down ballot races, the first person, the only congressperson who was endorsed by Donald Trump lost.
Yeah, I saw that. That was hilarious.
Hopefully it will be an ongoing trend for them.
Yeah, somebody in Iowa, I can't think he was a state senator, not a U.S. senator, but like unendorsed, like pulled Like, actually, no. He said he actually pulled his party affiliation. He went and switched his party affiliation from Republican to unaffiliated or independent.
David something. I read that too.
Yeah. So
I was like, at least some of y'all have some integrity. Like, thank God. But yeah,
but I think he's still kind of living in a world of unreal world, though, because he was talking about how no, he wasn't going to support Hillary, but he wasn't supporting Trump. But there will be other options. Like, he's still living in this world where Trump may not. He kept saying, if he's the nominee. I'm like, dude, he's your nominee. Yes. I know you don't like it, but that's who you have. Exactly. It's not going to change. Somebody might run third party, but he's your nominee. Sorry.
Yeah. If something happens where, the RNC wraps up in Cleveland and Donald Trump is not the actual 100% official nominee.
I mean, that would be...
Cleveland's going to burn to the ground.
There's going to be... Yeah.
It's pretty... I mean, it's over, though. Like you said, it's over. Whoever was in charge of the Never Trump movement, you're fired.
Yeah.
Because you did a terrible job.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, the Republican Party has, over the past, I think 72 hours kind of gone through this.
They have. They really have. Like, I mean, with him, like with Paul Ryan, with Mitch McConnell, like all endorsing him, but, saying that they disavow like everything he says. I'm like, you cannot say, I mean, that would be like saying, oh God, this guy, he's a thief, he's a liar, but yeah, you should definitely still marry him. Like, what? Like,
they need to look up endorsement in the dictionary.
Yes.
You stand for the things that he stands for.
You cannot say, I disavow this, but, you guys should still make him your president.
Yeah.
Like, y'all sound crazy right now. You sound like Mitch McConnell, being asked like 50 billion different times, well, what he say racist? Is it racist? And all he will say is, I vehemently disagree, but will not say it's racist because you can't call the, leader of your party racist, even though that's what it is. But it's like, everybody knows that's what it is, even though you don't want to say it. Like, we know what's going on. We're not stupid. And you're just sitting there looking stupid yourself, having to keep saying, I disagree. Well, I disagree. But is it racist though? I couldn't disagree more. Answer the question.
Yeah. At least Paul Ryan did. Paul Ryan came out and said it's the definition. It's a textbook definition of racism. I was like, all right.
Yeah, but she's still endorsing.
Yeah, but Hillary isn't the answer. I'm like, oh, so he's a complete racist, but he should still be president. Yay.
Yeah. I don't know where they're going with their party.
I mean,
where are y'all going?
I think they need to admit that these conversations should have happened about 6 months ago.
Yes.
They need to fire the head of their party.
Yes.
Reince Priebus has got to go because this is a disaster.
Yeah.
And a true chairman would have, had better conversations with the candidates that were running to get some of them to, they needed half of them drop out earlier.
Exactly. They need to look really closely at themselves because they're talking about how Trump doesn't want to pivot to a general election. They had 16 other people who they could have chosen from. Not saying that, those other people are great people, but at least they were not blatant racist. I mean, seriously. And now it's like, okay, this is what our base wanted. So, we have to go along with them, but we need to pivot. But you need to look internally inside yourselves. What does it say about you and your party that that's your base and that's what they wanted?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Yeah. I mean, they've been cultivating that audience for, a couple of decades now.
Yeah.
And now they got somebody who is taking it and running with it very overtly. And they're like, oh, what are we going to do with this? Like, that's what you wanted. And that's what you got.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much criticism of the primary process and the caucuses and the superdelegates and all of that. And I agree with a good chunk of that. But the other part of me thinks, hey, all of these systems are put in place, having so many delegates and, the power handed to the party faithful. Okay, it is, to protect the establishment, to protect the elite. It's designed so that somebody can't just walk in off the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Or step out of his limo driven over from Trump Tower and just take over your party. You want to have some protections against outside intrusion by somebody who doesn't share your values.
Yeah.
And the Republican Party sold that.
Yes.
And so now they're having to face these consequences.
But he does represent their values, and I think that's the big part of it all. There's a really good, I actually started reading, I haven't gotten too far into it, but I started reading the book Dog Whistle Politics. And it's all about how the Republican Party from kind of the 60s and the civil rights movement forward have used racial dog whistles to build the white base, becoming the party of the South.
And they didn't manage that they would soon be the minority. After a couple of years, they didn't take that into account.
They didn't do the math for the minority status that we currently are in some places in the United States. But I think what's also really interesting when you look at it in the context, because it was written before the Trump and all that kind of stuff happened, but what's really happening is that Trump's just taking it from dog whistle politics and just speaking that crap out loud. Like he's no longer dog whistling it to, we need to, make sure welfare queens aren't stealing our money, which meant that we hate black people, or, all those other kind of dog whistle ways. And he's just saying, you know what? I don't like black people, and I don't like Mexicans, and I don't like women, and I don't like, and he's just saying it out loud. He kind of, and
he went from dog whistle to train whistle.
Yes, exactly.
He totally did.
But they're exactly the same, because it's like Newt Gingrich is trying to say what he's saying is inexcusable. But when you were running, you kept calling Obama the food stamp president every 5 seconds. And we all know what that means.
Exactly.
And it's like, you call him the food stamp president, that most of the people on food stamps are white. Come on. But you put it out there because you knew what people would think when you said that. But now, because like you say, he says it so overtly, oh God, I can't be associated with that. Like, that's inexcusable. Stop it.
So
they're the same. They're exactly the same. They feel exactly the same way. Their ideology is the same. And like I said, they got somebody who now is doesn't care, very overt about it. And now it's a bad thing.
Right. So the Republican National Convention is going to be interesting, and it's going to be hilarious for us. We've got a terrific event planned that we're coordinating with Lady Parts Justice, who is the comedy team headed up by Lizz Winstead, co-creator of The Daily Show. We are working with her and her team for an event called Slurricane Trump. It's touching down in Cleveland. This event is going to be on July 21st. The VIP event, you can buy tickets at comedyrnc.brownpapertickets.com or look for the link in our show notes. VIP access gets you in $75. Doors open at 7 o'clock. So a cocktail reception before. And then the main event happens while Trump is giving his acceptance speech that Thursday night. So Lizz Winstead, John, Fugelsang, who, even if you don't know his name, you've seen his picture because on Facebook and Twitter, because he's just hilarious on social media. He's a SiriusXM radio host and a comedian. And Frank Conniff of Mystery Science Theater 3000. The three of them and some special guests throughout the night are going to be up on stage with Trump's live speech on a screen behind them. And they're going to be just ripping him apart in real time. It's going to be hilarious at the Bohemian National Hall in Cleveland. So we'll be just a couple miles away. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm very excited. I love Lizz Winstead. She came and spoke at our national conference, and she did a really good job. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be fabulous. I mean, I'm a geek, so I remember Mystery Science Theater 3000. So doing it in front of Donald Trump, pulling together my like science fiction geekiness and my political geekiness all into one is going to be a pretty fabulous night. So political nerds unite. Let's go.
So one more time, it's comedyrnc.brownpapertickets.com or look for the link in the show notes. Get those VIP tickets to get into the cocktail reception before the event.
And carnival games, Trump-themed carnival games.
It's a whole night of fun. The night of the RNC, it's guaranteed to be hilarious.
Yes.
And after that whole week of the RNC, we're going to need to laugh. So join us. Woohoo.
Okay. So Monday, Columbus City Council did something cool. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, so, usually when we talk about policy and legislation and stuff on the podcast, we're usually talking about sad, bad things happening. Wah, wah. But actually, this is a very, very good thing. Last year, we elected new members to city council, one of those being council member Elizabeth Brown.
Yes.
Who is the daughter of the fabulous Sherrod Brown, our U.S. Senator. Mm-hmm. And so she actually introduced an ordinance on Monday, kind of in response to what we've seen across the country and the increased violence and those kind of things outside of abortion clinics that led to several months ago the vandalism outside of the Planned Parenthood East Clinic in Columbus.
Right.
So this ordinance is a buffer zone ordinance, and everybody's ears twing like, oh wait, aren't those unconstitutional? Well, no, actually, not all of them are. So when the Supreme Court decided in the Massachusetts buffer zone case to call that one a 30-foot hard buffer zone, you can't go in there, unconstitutional, they actually, in their decision, referred to the New York City buffer zone ordinance as the model for what they should have done to be constitutional. And I think, Gabe, you've got the actual quote.
Yes, the Supreme Court decision in McCullen versus Coakley said, if the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is particularly concerned about harassment, it should also consider an ordinance such as the one adopted in New York City that not only prohibits obstructing access to a clinic, but also makes it a crime to, quote, follow and harass another person within 15 feet of the premises of a reproductive health care facility. Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So, to all of our friends in air quotes on the other side who've been screaming since they found out about it that this is unconstitutional and blatantly unconstitutional, you might want to read the actual decision in McCully, because I'm pretty sure when the Supreme Court says, hey, maybe you should do this, it's not by definition not unconstitutional.
It's a good idea.
But anyway, so it will so actually, and it's any healthcare facility, it's not just reproductive healthcare facilities.
But nobody screams at me outside my dentist.
Yes, exactly. So but if somebody does, you can use this.
Yeah, I went the other day, no one was there.
Nobody cared that you were getting your teeth cleaned.
Nobody cared.
So but it will stop people from blocking or stopping somebody from getting into the parking lot, which sometimes does happen at Founders because it's got an alley accessed parking lot.
Right.
But will also stop somebody from being able to follow, intimidate, harass, or annoy somebody within 15 feet of the premises of the abortion clinic. Right. So, if a protester still wants to stand out there with their sign and yell and scream at traffic, or just kind of yell and scream in general about the world, right, totally still okay and totally protected by our Constitution as your right to free speech and protest.
Yeah.
It only kicks in when they start chasing you into the abortion clinic, calling you individually a murderer and harasser and stopping you from getting in. If the woman wants to talk to the protester and allows them to, that's still totally okay. But it also, because the way the Supreme Court was written, it stops anybody from doing those things. So even an escort would have to say, hey, can I walk you into the clinic?
Yeah.
Now.
Which they should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I have a question about how it's going to, I know that hasn't happened a lot here that I know of, but it's happened a lot in Dayton. So how will this affect if, say, they're trying to go to the actual provider's house?
Because it's only the 15 feet outside of the clinic, it wouldn't actually impact anywhere else. So so it wouldn't impact a lot of the harassment that's been happening in neighborhoods. Actually, Created Equal was out in a neighborhood in Blacklick yesterday handing out stuff. If you want to see something interesting, you should go to their Facebook page, because they're getting yelled at by a bunch of parents because I guess they handed bloody fetus postcards out to 7-year-olds playing in their front yard, and parents were really excited about that.
Wow.
So they've got a new crew of interns and they're ready to roll. And
this is going to help their message by giving that to children who don't vote, don't know anything about this.
And it's just going to freak them out. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Brains. So Columbus City Council introduced the ordinance. There'll be a hearing next week. There'll be a vote following that. If anybody's interested, if you are an escort or have been a patient or have a story that you would like to share in testimony, you can email me. Actually, let's email Gabe.
communications@prochoiceohio.org.
And we will hook you up with all the information on the hearing and how to testify. But it's a really good thing. We're really excited that Columbus City Council is starting this off and getting this rolling to protect our patients. It'd be awesome.
Yes. So
Yay.
big thanks to
Good
Councilwoman
news.
Elizabeth Brown and all of her colleagues for being supportive of this idea.
Yes, because they are getting slammed for it now. So
Okay.
Of course.
So then the next thing we have on our agenda is a case that a lot of people have been talking about across the country. So there was a woman who was raped in Stanford and wrote an amazing letter to her victim as part of her assailant, not her victim. To her assailant as part of the sentencing process. And the letter and then the response from the young man's dad and then his own letter. Everybody's writing letters.
Yeah.
Hers is the only one that makes airtime on our show because it's the only one that matters.
Right. But, I think a lot of people labeled, especially the dad's reaction and his series of excuses.
It was so clueless.
It was. And
clueless.
Yeah, they labeled it as like the textbook example of what rape culture looks like.
Yes.
And this story,
20 minutes of action.
Yeah, that was his phrase for what had happened.
Yeah, it was rape. You can say the word rape. Your son did it. Like it wasn't just 20 minutes. He didn't take her to Chipotle. He raped her. There's a difference between 20 minutes of action and what he actually did to her.
Right.
But of course, he didn't want to say what it actually is.
Right. No, I totally agree. And I think what's also interesting is Jaime, you heard about this from the victim's letter because you mentioned it to me, I think Monday. And I was like, what are you talking about? And it wasn't until the dad's letter that started to, really get noticed. I think that's what stirred up most of the actual attention nationwide about this case.
He should have kept his mouth shut.
He really should have.
Yeah, he really should have.
Well, the thing is, all of these, so it's part of the court process actually, and I don't know. I find it kind of interesting. I didn't realize, I guess, that these were public, or I don't know who leaked them or how they got out there. But as part of the sentencing process, there's a victim impact statement, which is her letter.
Yes.
And then, friends of the convicted guy can also write but he's a good guy letter. And it happens all the time. I mean, it happens in murder cases. Our boss was talking about, she's got a family, history of violence, being perpetrated on her family. And she gave a victim impact statement in that case. And so, these are common things that happen in court. They just usually don't get out.
Yeah.
And God help. I mean, you can defend somebody as I grew up with him and he's a nice guy without actually being a rape apologist.
Yeah.
Right.
But the people who wrote letters in support of him failed miserably at that.
Yeah.
And
really
it's coming
did.
back to bite some of them in the butt. One of the friends, actually, a high school friend. So the other piece of this is interesting that I didn't realize from the very beginning is that this dude's from right outside of Dayton.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
A very fancy suburb of Dayton.
Yes, a very fancy suburb of Dayton. There's actually a really good, we'll put it in the show notes too. Somebody actually wrote a piece for the Washington Post on how that the very rich suburb of Oakwood right outside of Dayton creates people like this because they never hear the word no. So they don't know how to deal with the word no. They've never been denied anything in their lives. So we'll put that in the show notes too.
In this particular case, she didn't even say no because she was unconscious.
Right.
I mean, she couldn't even,
No.
say that. And yet you thought it's okay to violate an unconscious person
Behind a dumpster. You dragged
Yes.
her behind the dumpster.
but you're still a good guy.
Yeah.
You took
Yeah.
okay.
So the friend who wrote the support letter in support of her rapist friend is actually also then from the Dayton area and as a part of a local band called Good English, who was actually scheduled to play a couple shows in Columbus and a show in Dayton and a show in California and a bunch of different shows. And they've all been canceled at this point. The band's Facebook page is now down. The band's Twitter profile is now down.
Yeah.
Should have kept quiet.
Yes. But, and in her letter, it was, again, a classic example of rape culture. I mean, she says in
Yes.
there that not all campus rape is because people are rapists. the definition of rape is that it's perpetrated by a rapist. Like,
and she says we need to stop being politically correct.
yes. Mm-hmm.
If I hear that one more time.
Yeah.
Talking about a rapist for committing rape, it's not being politically. I mean, this is what he did. I mean, true, it's your friend. True, it's his son, and you should, love your friend and love your son. Please, God, I hope nobody in my family would ever do something so horrible. But I mean, I understand that doesn't automatically mean that you no longer, love them. They're your family. But at the same time, you have to recognize you did a terrible thing and you need to pay the consequence for that. And you need to recognize that you did this terrible thing and it's your fault, your actions alone and nobody else.
Right.
Not alcohol, not being on campus, not going to a park. Nobody else, nobody made you take her back there and violate her. You did that all on your own and you need to take responsibility for it. And to say that you don't, or how it's somehow going to, negatively affect his life, you made that decision.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, and that's the thing. I've actually really appreciated. I've seen several Facebook posts and tweets from just random guys out there who have been like, you know what? I've gotten really, really drunk too, and somehow I managed not to rape someone.
Right.
Really?
Just getting drunk doesn't mean that automatically you go out and you rape someone. You know, it is not the alcohol. You're a rapist because you went from just being drunk to raping someone.
Exactly.
So
the Italians say alcohol brings out your true self, your true desires. So exactly.
So so the judge only gave him 6 months in a county jail where he could have gotten 14 years in a state prison.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So the judge gets the walk of shame for that.
Yes.
The dad gets the walk of shame for his apologetic letter of how his life shouldn't be ruined.
He doesn't want to eat steak anymore.
Yeah. Or his pretzels.
Yes.
That was the head scratcher tweet where someone observed that they took the dad took 5 sentences out of his letter, which wasn't that long, but 5 full sentences just to talk about food.
Yeah.
It's like, you're missing the
whole point
of what happened here.
Yes.
So the dad gets it for that one. The friend gets it for her rape apologist on how not all people who rape are rapists. And of course the rapist gets the gold star walk of shame for being the rapist. And
the worst gold star.
The worst gold star ever.
Yes.
The gold star and the walk of shame. So it's just, and the whole case from beginning to end is just horrific, except for one thing, and the fact that he is convicted. Because so often, especially in these cases where the victim was incapacitated by drugs or alcohol, these never go to court because the prosecutor says that the case isn't strong enough, or she can't identify who did it because she was unconscious.
Exactly.
But this case actually came to court because 2 graduate students happened to be bicycling by that evening and saw him moving a lot, according to them, him moving a lot and her laying completely still and knowing that something was wrong.
Yeah.
And so they stopped and confronted. Of course, the rapist ran away. They actually chased him and tackled him and held him to the ground until the police arrived.
Yes.
And the other one tended to the woman who was still completely and totally unconscious. She didn't wake up until several hours later at the hospital.
Exactly.
Which she graphically depicts in her letter.
Yes. Yeah. If you want to read her letter, it's very powerful and very amazing, but just be forewarned that it's a graphic retelling of what happened to her. But she does talk about the 2 guys in her letter.
That's the quote of it we wanted to read. She says, way towards the end, most importantly, thank you to the 2 men who saved me, who I have yet to meet. I sleep with 2 bicycles that I drew taped above my bed to remind myself that there are heroes in this story, that we are looking out for one another. To have known all of these people, to have felt their protection and love is something I will never forget.
That was really powerful.
Yeah.
And it really shows
Carl, Frederick, and Peter.
2 Swedish graduate students.
Yeah.
So,
yes, we'll remember their names, not the rapist, because he's a rapist.
Yes. Definitely, thanks to them for being human beings.
Yes, exactly.
Apparently, Ashley Banfield, the CNN anchor, read this letter in its entirety. It took a half hour.
It's 7,200 words.
Yeah. So, that's what they were discussing last night on NPR as I was driving home, just how sort of shocking this case is. But yet they were sort of asking the question of why it's, getting the attention that it is, because there's millions of rapes that happen all the time.
I think it's, I think it's good as getting the attention that it's getting, because one, like a lot of times most rapists, like you said, there is no conviction. They don't go to jail. But on the other side, the ones who are convicted and go to jail, they get a lot more time than 6 months.
Right.
And so this 6 month sentence, saying that it would be too harsh on him, which he's probably only going to serve 3, is that's not normal. And the judge, there's actually a recall petition on the judge now, because people like, this was just, ridiculous. And also another side of it is like, this whole time, they said it's been 18 months before his real mugshot got released. And this whole time, every time you see it, you see it, you read it, it says Stanford athlete, Stanford swimmer, convicted of sexually assaulting unconscious woman. And that's the victim. That's all her identity is unconscious woman. And he gets to be Stanford athlete, Stanford swimmer, and show all these pictures of him, looking all nice and clean cut. And it's like, no, that's not what you show. That's not what we usually show when, we're talking about rapes. And it's like, they use the word sexually assault. He was, it was rape. And it's just a very I'm glad that it's getting attention, because I just think that it wakes a lot of people up to, what happens and what's going on. I'm glad that there's a lot of people, angry about it. On the other side of this story, I saw another story about, I'm not going to remember his name now, another guy who was, I believe he was 16 when it happened, a black man who was a football player. He's 16, and he was convicted of a rape, which the victim later recanted it was not true, and he served 6 years.
Yeah, wrongfully convicted, served 6 years before he was let out.
And nobody looked at him as a 16-year-old and thought it would be, detrimental to him to spend 6 years in jail.
And he was charged as an adult, as a 16-year-old, and put into an adult prison as a 16-year-old.
And this guy is over 20, is just going to go to county. Yeah.
So, and
I don't know why
that difference might
why
be
that happened.
That 16-year-old black football player versus the 20-year-old white Stanford swimmer.
Yes. Exactly.
Draw your own conclusions.
Yeah. Come on, people. But I'm glad, the girl, I still don't think they said her name. I guess maybe they're trying to
you don't sell your rep.
Yeah. So, but I'm glad, her story has gone viral and her statement was read. And I think everyone should read it, because I read it. It was long, but it was very powerful. And just so, again, and I'm glad other men are seeing it and know, again, alcohol, being on college, partying, that's not what causes you to violate someone.
No.
That was in you, and you took the opportunity, and thank God someone caught you, or else otherwise we would know nothing about it.
Yeah.
On that cheery note.
Yeah.
You wanna,
exactly.
Now
we're going to go to Let's Get It On.
Not a good transition there. We need to work on that one.
So it's weird. A consensual Let's Get It On.
Yes.
So Dayton Pride went very well. Thank you to the volunteers that came out. We did get rained out, but it was still a good day. And again, thanks to the volunteers that came. So nothing going on this weekend. Next weekend, which is the third weekend, is going to be Columbus Pride. That's the 17th and 18th. I believe I got the dates right. We'll be out there Friday and Saturday, 17th and 18th. And then the last weekend, again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll be out here in Columbus at Confest. And that Saturday, the 25th, we'll be in Cincinnati for Cincinnati Pride. I don't think there's any going on yet in Cleveland or up north yet.
No, but there are a couple of festivals and things Annie's been going to. So if you want more information on that, just email the volunteer
at prochoiceohio.org if you're up north, and you can help out Annie go to some of the festivals. And also, if you're down here, we definitely still need people to come to Columbus Pride, Confest, and Cincinnati Pride. So if you haven't signed up yet, again, you can email me at volunteer@prochoiceohio.org. And it's a good time. Hopefully it'll be nice days. It won't rain. And it'll be good music, good food, good people. So definitely come out. We'll have a good time.
And one more time, too, if you want to testify in favor of something for once, Columbus City Council hearing on the buffer zone next Tuesday, the 14th, you can email us at communications@prochoiceohio.org to get more information on that.
Cool.
Mhm.
Okay. See everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.